Not in my name, not in my faith, not in my words, not in that way. Not in my name, not in my faith, not in my words, not in that way.
Welcome, viewers, to another edition of A Muslim's Perspective. Praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him and we ask Him for guidance and forgiveness. And we seek protection in Allah from the malice of our own souls and the evil of our actions. Whom Allah guides, no one can lead him astray, and whom He makes astray, no one can lead him back to the right path. I bear witness that there is no other deity but Allah by Himself, no associate to Him. And I bear witness that Muhammad is His servant and messenger. Problems in relationships exist in society, be it with a spouse, a partner, a sibling, a friend, a family member, within the community or within the larger society. This list is certainly not exhaustive, since distress and crisis is a very personal and unique experience for each person. At these moments, people are vulnerable, requiring confidential, non-judgmental, and short-term crisis intervention, emotional support, and resources. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of God be with him, acknowledged and addressed psychological challenges and laid the groundwork for generations of Muslims to recognize and deal with them. To discuss an institutional response to meet this need in our context, we have two representatives from Nisa Helpline, Sister Shaheen Auckbaraullee. Assalamu alaikum, Shaheen.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Lee. Thank you for having us.
And Sister Athir Jiswari. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Athir.
Wa alaikum salam.
First, allow me to give a brief introduction to the work of Sister Shaheen. She's a professional and passionate and driven in helping others achieve their success stories. She's been in the HR corporate world for over 15 years. She has focused her studies in HR management and business, taught numerous motivational and personal development workshops, and loves to support women conceptualize their vision and inspire progress. She currently works with Nisa Helpline as their service delivery manager and consultant to the Being Me team. Her motto is, let's make your struggles a source of strength as you step into your best self and elevate your passion into success. Sister Athir, on the other hand, started at Nisa Helpline in 2016 as a volunteer and peer counselor. She is currently training coordinator with the Nisa Frontline Services team, providing ongoing training and development for peer counselors. Athir holds a master's degree in counseling psychology and is a registered psychotherapist, qualifying with the College of Registered Psychotherapists of Ontario. She currently practices community mental health, primarily focusing on violence and abuse prevention. Now, sisters, what specific services does Nisa Helpline offer?
Thank you for having us, Brother Lee, and I'll kick it off. So in terms of Nisa Helpline, we are a frontline service that provides peer-to-peer counseling in terms of what we call it. And my colleague Athir will provide some more detailing around that as we progress. And it's peer-to-peer counseling that's anonymous, confidential, active listening, non-judgmental, and being able to provide resources to our callers. The second part of our service is more focused towards public education, where we create educational awareness that's very relevant and important and critical to our community. And that's through the means of workshops, toolkits, facilitation tools, bringing in professionals from our community, connecting with others in our community, and through government for collaborations and initiatives to continue to create that awareness for our community. So that's the main premise, I would say, and focus of our service.
So your service is geared towards the females in our community or to the community in general?
Correct. So it is a Muslim women's helpline, so it's geared towards women in our community at large. And primarily, we're showcasing this service and making it available to women throughout Canada and North America. So it is accessible to these areas and locations. And our main, I would say, mission is really to champion the well-being of Muslim women across North America, to really, empower them and provide them with the tools that they need in order to become more self-sufficient and have dignified lives, and to foster that, the next steps of stepping into that safe environment, that safe space, so that they can continue on with the next chapters of their life.
Inshallah. And what particular circumstances motivated the setting up of Nisa Helpline?
Very interesting question. I would say that I've been part of Nisa Helpline since the onset, since it first started. And, as we all know, women in our community go through a lot. And, in terms of having that comfortable support that they need, where they feel connected, was not there over 10 years ago. And it all started with, hearing from our own community, our friends, our families, our networks, sisters in our community that are coming to us, that we meet through events and conferences, and hearing the gaps that they needed, hearing their concerns, and that they wanted something where they felt safe, where they felt comfortable, and where they felt connected. And hence where the conceptualization of Nisa Helpline, the idea of it came about, where we started to converse and talk with like-minded people, with women in our community that needed this service. And we, a group of us wanted to continue to focus on that and really bring it to life. And that's what we did. We brought the helpline to life. It started off being a very grassroots, volunteer-based organization, where, like all, not-for-profit organizations, we do as much as we can to keep that service alive. And that's where we saw the uptake of calls just coming in, where sisters felt comfortable having that safe space, that non-judgmental space, that resources that we vetted that we can share with them. So it all started with conversations of hearing from our community of what they needed, and people who were passionate about wanting to do this work and bringing it to life.
I would guess that seeing that a lot of the recent settlement of immigrants that makes up the bulk of our community, or faith community, comes from cultures that are misogynistic, and they're moving into an environment where the freedom of the individual to choose and to express themselves is more a given in society. And there is a need for social adjustments to be made by the males in their lives. How has this impacted on these particular circumstances that you speak about?
So in terms of what we're seeing, and Athir, feel free to jump in, I feel from a helpline perspective, and, having this service known in our community, it is something that we see where, a lot of our sisters are calling in respects to typical situations that you would hear of newcomers in Canada, right? They're looking for sources, they're looking for resources that can help them cope and handle what they're going through. So it is something that we have seen, and we do support as much as we can in terms of what resources we can provide and how we can help them to navigate perhaps something that is very unclear to them and new territories when they're coming in.
Do you find that you're able to communicate in the various languages that they would have been native to them?
Great question. So what I would say is, we do have a diverse team who are multilingual, and if they so happen to be speaking to a counselor that has that language skill set, then they would definitely be able to share that. In terms of it being a challenge, so far we haven't encountered that. They've been very positive outcomes in terms of being able to support them. But I will turn to Athir to see if there's anything else that we can add to that.
So, Sister Athir, Sister Shaheen mentioned that you started off as principally a volunteer-based enterprise to assist female members of the community. And there is some sort of counseling. Can you elaborate on peer-to-peer counseling and the degree of qualification or coaching that these counselors have in their specialty?
Absolutely. So we train our peer counselors in a peer support model. What this means is that they are trained to provide emotional and practical support. And this occurs between the counselor and the caller who share some aspect of lived experience. So that's really kind of the cornerstone of a peer support model. In our case, the main lived experience that we kind of we guarantee for people who call us is that when you pick up the phone, call our number, you'll be greeted by a person who identifies as female and who is Muslim. So they have a personal understanding of what it's like to be Muslim and female in North America. And that's sort of the center of sort of the niche. We really believe that this is a very powerful way of supporting women in our community, because this means that we understand, our peer counselors understand the experiences of Muslim women in the mainstream and also within the Muslim community, which can often be, impacted by discrimination, stereotyping, stigma, shame, some of the pieces that Sister Shaheen as well was touching on. Our counselors understand that by virtue of their personal experiences, they have this connection to callers. They're also trained by us to understand the nuances of Muslim women's experiences. So we provide a pretty rigorous training orientation when people come to volunteer or work with us, particularly for the front line. So we have a program that consists of a couple of weeks of training in our approach to peer support and in the main issues facing Muslim women in several different realms. We look at abuse, relationship issues, mental health concerns, and trauma. We also train them in skills. So how are they implementing those skills on calls. And so we follow through with them for many months with one-to-one supervisory support to ensure that those skills are demonstrated to our standards. And we constantly reevaluate their readiness to be peer supporters on our line. We also provide ongoing training and development. We essentially data mine. So we look at what are the issues that our callers are calling in with, right, for a particular month, for a particular, week, right? And we look at those trends and we do training based on those trends.
And when you say you do training, is it someone who is walking off the street or someone who has to have a background in, say, psychology or some similar one of the sciences?
Yeah, so we have a training team, and within that training team, we have people in different fields of study, so social work, psychology, counseling. So we provide some training internally through those team members who have that professional education. We also resource out, so we do external training where we invite people who have those credentials related to the particular topics usually that we require the training in, and we bring them to train our peer counselors.
And one of the things that would occur, I would imagine, in these calls is people are sharing their personal circumstances. What mechanisms do you have in place to ensure that their confidence is not betrayed in any way whatsoever?
Yeah, that's a really great and important question, right? This is, as Shaheen mentioned, really a primary value of our service, confidentiality and privacy. And we embed this into every part of our training and protocols. So our peer counselors are trained on how to maintain privacy and confidentiality from, for example, we don't ask or record any details about callers in terms of their names or locations. Unless the caller, volunteers that information, we don't ask about it, and they would usually only volunteer it, for example, if they require some resources. And so we are, constantly going over these protocols with our peer counselors. They're also part of their training is how not to discuss their calls outside of the call between them and the caller. So to not discuss any of those details. And we take any potential breaches of confidentiality very seriously. We have a zero tolerance policy for this. They're also trained in certain ways. For example, if they happen to recognize someone on a call, we haven't had those issues yet, I would say. But we do know sometimes our communities can be pretty close-knit. But they have been trained in how to take actions to ensure that the caller is supported by a different peer counselor, so that there isn't that conflict of interest.
And, sometimes a person might find themselves in a situation where it's difficult to make the call. They're so controlled. Their phones are monitored. They're restricted in their movements. How do you handle such a situation? It's perhaps what I've read about, ordering pizza, for example, to know that someone's in distress. Do you get that type of calls, or it precedes reaching to that stage?
Yeah, that's another really excellent question. So I think, we are not a crisis helpline, so we very rarely receive crisis calls. Our peer counselors are trained on how to deal with them, however, if they do come up. So if somebody does call and they're unable to speak freely, our peer counselors are trained in how to pick up on cues. And it is a challenging thing, certainly, because it's over the phone. So the usual sort of body language cues or things like that cannot be picked up on, but they're trained to pick up on things like tone of voice, or if somebody is really, really hesitant. And so part of their skills training is what are the types of questions that they need to ask in order to get information that's necessary in order to assist our callers in maintaining safety. So they, for example, might not push the person to, give them more information than they are able to say out loud. And so they continue the conversation with asking a lot of questions and listening for those cues to understand what's going on around them. And then they might work with the caller to figure out if there's a time or a place that they can go to, like a friend that's safe, or a different location or a public space where they can call us again and speak more freely, so that we can also support them that way.
Sister Shaheen, can you give us some insight into the kind of demands for Nisa Helpline services? Do you have can you share any numbers in terms of how many persons have made use of the service over a period of time?
Yeah, sure. So, over the 7 years, we've received, I would say, over 45,000 calls and counting. So from 2014 and up. One thing that has really, or one aspect, that I'd share with you guys is anything that happens in terms of, in the media situations in our community or at large, whether it's local or internationally, it always has a trigger to our helpline. So as an example, COVID, Islamophobia, these all kind of, penetrate into the helpline, and it will trigger influx of calls at times. So I can share with you with confidence that from 2020, we've received about 180% increase in the calls for the helpline. And, that's definitely quite a huge increase. And that has allowed us to better prepare and better be able to pivot and adjust what we need to in order to tackle the types of calls that are coming in. As these calls are coming in, Brother Lean, we definitely need to kind of take a look at, okay, so is this something that we need to provide some additional support or training in? And, how do we do that? So definitely a lot of learnings along the way. Some of the numbers that I'll share with you in terms of maybe from our September, you can see some updated numbers on our social media. But in terms of emotional support, it is about 41% of calls that have come in, which is I would say the number one in terms of call insight. And thereafter, we have about 25% attributed to relationship support. And then it starts to, continue to flow down in terms of anxiety, depression and mood disorder, and premarital support. So it is kind of across the realm that we're seeing this, where, we definitely need to understand the different spheres of, the focuses of our calls, and to continuously be in that mode of learning and support to be able to provide what our callers are needing. And that's the importance in terms of when training comes into play for our counselors, for our organization at large. It's definitely something that we look at, where we want to bring it internally to make sure that our counselors are, updated and they're up to speed in terms of what they need to know from a knowledge standpoint and, techniques. And then externally that, we're providing tips and workshops and education and awareness programs to our community so that it's accessible to them as well in case they ever needed to attend or watch something or learn at a different time. So those are the kind of like two angles that we're coming from.
So you mentioned 45,000 over a 7-year period, and is that 7-year period the lifetime of Nisa Helpline in terms of its years of operation?
Yes, correct. And counting. So, there is probably more to that at this point in time, but yes, that's correct.
Active persons you have on the line in terms of your frontline staff to answer these calls, because that's a lot of volume on a per year basis.
It is. And keep in mind, like that was at a time during the COVID. So we did have quite a large team in terms of combination of volunteers and, staff PCs that are coming in. So at that time, it was pretty huge. And I would say probably around maybe 25-ish, I would say, and counting. Whereas now we have a little bit more of a robust strategy where, we have dedicated, committed staff, peer counselors aligned to specific shifts where we, cover the peak times. And then we have our volunteers that are complementary to them to be able to support the overflow.
Sister Shaheen, Sister Athir, we will take a short break and continue right after. Peace out.
Sure.
Not in my faith, not in my words, not in that way.
Welcome back, viewers. We are speaking to two representatives from Nisa Helpline, Sister Shaheen and Sister Athir, talking about the tremendous services that they are offering Muslim women in North America, filling a much needed niche in terms of helping us live better qualities of life. I guess that's the end objective of this. Sister Shaheen or Sister Athir, whichever one would like to take this one. We have an infrastructure of concrete in our communities in terms of masjids and musallas and so on. Are they filling that need for Muslim sisters to experience faith in its fullest, and when they are troubled, they have a place to turn to? Do you get that sense?
Great question and comment, and feel free to jump in. I'll kick it off. So subhanAllah, this is a conversation that we've had numerous times. We actually kickstarted a project called Educate to Illuminate, and it's on our nisahelpline.com website, where we created a toolkit that we can offer to imams and Muslim leaders and community leaders to help them in supporting women when they turn to them and they need help. I think one stance that I will share is that, mashallah, we have very knowledgeable individuals in our community that definitely provide a layer of support, a layer of spiritual support. But at the same time, they're not there to provide that end-to-end counseling to our sisters who need some additional layer of services. And that's where we're wanting to work with our community to help navigate and change that trajectory so that they will recognize that there's services out there like Nisa Helpline and others that will help to fill and support and guide our sisters in need. They definitely play a role, but we don't feel that they need to play that complete role, right? it's definitely a needed conversation, and I feel like there's more work to do in this regards. We just came from a Muslim mental health conference supported by the ISA Association in Winnipeg last week, and this is the exact topic that came up, that we were talking to other community leaders and other professionals alike, where we were sharing the same, I would say, mindset and the same notion to want to continue to support our masjids, our other institutions, our community folks, so that they're armed with what they need in order to provide that first layer of support, and then be in a position to have accessible resources like Nisa Helpline to provide to women and sisters who need it.
Yeah, you know, there are a lot of, speaking from a man point of view, and hopefully not misogynistic, you know, there's a lot of infrastructure out there that seems to be only catered to men, probably 40 plus. Not even Muslim youths are catered to. And women are essentially somewhere in the back rooms and a third thought, not even a second thought. How do we overcome these barriers? You know, you are in the field, you know, have you tested any strategies in terms of overcoming this barrier?
So I feel like the first part that we have is that first project that we participated in, but we definitely need to roll up our sleeves and have more work to do. I feel like that building bridges concept is definitely something that we need to continue to put out there and continue to encourage and push to create that awareness and establish collaborations and allyship where, you know, we do have access to certain institutions and masjids, and definitely leverage that network to be able to echo the same sentiment to others as well. It is important, and we do still have a lot of work to do. And I think for us, as a women's helpline, it's something that we will channel through our education focus and awareness, and continue to work with others in the community that can help us convey that message as a united front.
Here, and perhaps one of each one of you can take one or the other. Two is, a viewer looking at this, wanting to volunteer. What is your process of recruiting volunteers, and how do they reach out to you? Number one, and number two, someone who thinks that they're in need of your services, how do they contact you?
Sure. So in terms of the volunteering, we do have a very, I would say, robust recruitment process. At first, if someone was interested, they can definitely email us at info@nisahelpline.com. That will trigger the process in order for our HR and recruiting department to assess and take a look at this candidate's profile, qualifications, interests, and see, you know, what's available right now in our organization and how can we match them with the appropriate role. And then they go through, you know, an interview process. Sometimes that may be one-fold, sometimes that may be a double interview, so that they're, you know, we have the right people in front of our candidates, so that we can have these very transparent and candid conversations to continue to assess and determine that it's a good fit for them and it's a good fit for the organization. Once they do enter our organization, we do provide them with organizational orientation and then training that is directly related to that particular department. I believe Athir did touch on, like, you know, when it comes to the peer-to-peer counselors, we do have a very robust end-to-end training process that we provide to them from beginning all the way to the end, where we provide something called a PCST support, so peer counselor support team, where they're providing support to our new counselors and ongoing. So that way it's a full rounded approach in terms of helping them support the outcomes and the trainings and the knowledge that they need to learn and get into. I will shift over, if you allow me, Brother Lean, to have Athir just provide some additional points, and if she wills, in terms of the training.
Oh, and address also the issue of a potential need for your services. How do they contact you? Please.
Yeah. So in terms of the training, I think Shaheen really covered it quite well. So each department has its own very, very particular and specific training. And I spoke already on the training for our peer counselors. In terms of how people who would like to get in touch with the helpline to receive the services, our phone number is on our website. It's 1-888-315-6472. And we operate 7 EST.
Yeah, sorry, you broke up there. Can you repeat the timings which you operate?
Yeah, so 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. EST, 7 days a week.
Now, these activities don't just take place out of your goodwill. I'm sure you need funding. Is Nisa Helpline a charitable organization registered by the Canada Revenue Agency?
Yes, we are. We are a registered charity, alhamdulillah. And in terms of, like you said, sometimes when, you think of a helpline, you're thinking of all it takes is just a phone and a call, right? And that's it. But subhanAllah, the amount of work and effort and contribution that it takes to actually come to support that one call is quite large, from the, understanding how we need to support our callers, to the training and development, to the technology, to the growing need in terms of education and awareness. There's a lot of cost that's associated to that. So we definitely do welcome donations. You can, check out nisahelpline.com/donation. That, and we accept credit card. There's different methods, but please do check it out, because your contribution is what helps us pick up that other call.
And it's an established need. We've seen over 7 years, that's 45,000 calls approximately. You'd be really helping people at moments when they need the help most. And essentially taking the loads off of the masjids and family members and so on. It's really a phenomenal service being offered to sustain our community, and it's I can't emphasize this enough. It's for 50% plus of our community. That is the backbone of our community, and that is our women folk. So I'd encourage everyone to go to nisahelpline.com and donate. Are you recipient of any sort of government funding or any other institutional funding, or is it primarily based on receiving donations?
So it's both. We do try to source out governmental funding in terms of grants. We have had grants such as the ARAP, which is the Anti-Racism Action Plan program. We have received funding in the past from the Canadian Women's Federation, and we're currently working with Bell Let's Talk on a mental health project, which you guys will start to see. We have lots of workshops coming up for all of you. So that does come, but at the same time, none of that is secured. Like, it's not always there for you. So I would definitely, in terms of, our community funding, is something that we do rely on and we do appreciate, because this is what consistently keeps us thriving and keeps us going.
And in terms of your annual budget, are you able to make your annual budget on a consistent basis, or is it something that you have to get by, so to speak?
So, I would say, definitely when we were in the earlier stages of being a volunteer-based organization, it was definitely more challenging. As of recent, now that we've registered as a charity, we're official. This is something that is helping us to continue to meet the demands of our ever expanding budget and need. So it does help. But as I said in the beginning, there's nothing that's secured and set in stone. We will plan, we come up with our budget, and we continue to strive in different ways, whether it's marketing and campaigns and collaborations and initiatives with the government and grants and and all of that good stuff. So, it never stops. We're definitely trying to look at different avenues and platforms to help secure the funding so that we can, feel more comfortable as we're navigating the support that we need to provide to the community.
Yeah, unfortunately, from my experience, when you're dealing with the faith-based community, a lot of these services offer that basically take it for granted, and it requires personal sacrifices to keep it going, because it's seen as an act of worship, perhaps, working for Allah and His Prophet ﷺ. But really, for it to be effective, they need to be funded and funded properly. So again, viewers, if you have, if you have seen the need, if we have established the need for this service, please do donate to the cause. I'm sure our two representatives here and their team would make good use of your donations. So you are having an event on December 18th. Can you give us some sense of it and the purpose behind it?
Sure. And thank you for sharing that. And we'd love to have you, Brother Lean, to come and join us. So it is going to be on December 18th. It's a fundraising event that we're hosting, and subhanallah, we've been missing in terms of on the ground for the past, I would say, 2 years, still providing programs and events online, but it's our first kind of quote unquote post-COVID on the ground event where we're wanting to see our community, we're wanting to connect and give you guys a chance to see what Nisa Helpline is all about, see what we've been doing and what we've been up to, and to share that with you and to get connected. Our theme for this dinner is called Connecting Hearts and Building Community. And we truly feel that, it takes a community that cares in order to get us to that finish line, in order to continue to evolve our helpline and, start to work even more in terms of different aspects that can help to support women in our community. They say that, I believe there's this hadith, and I've heard a lot of our imams share this, but women are half the ummah and they give birth to the rest, which is the entire ummah. So we need to take care of our women in our community. And, it's definitely important. And we're excited to see everyone. It's been far too long where we've been doing our virtual programs. And, we need your support to help us kickstart this on the ground initiative of more programs to come that you guys will see around the GTA, small, medium, and large programs that will come to cater to various needs. And we're excited to start that off on December 18th with you guys. It'll be at Candles Banquet Hall. Tickets right now are on early bird, which is $40. So please do get your tickets because I think the due date is like today or tomorrow. But definitely watch out for any flash promos that come up thereafter. But we want to see our community. We want to connect with the community that supports us and will continue to support us. So we're inviting everyone near and far to come and join us on December 18th, inshallah.
You mentioned that saying, and it rang a bell in my head. You educate a man, you educate one person, you educate a woman, you educate a nation, so to speak. So here it is, if you help our sisters, you're really helping the entire ummah because they essentially are the backbone of the family. And again, Sister Athir, do you have anything to add to this pitch to join you at Connecting Hearts and Building Communities event?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just as Shaheen is as well. I'm just really excited to see the community in person. And I think I'm also really excited for us to be able to share a lot of those things that we have been working on very diligently and consistently the past few years. And I think this will be a platform where we can also share that directly with the community, inshallah.
And if someone wants tickets, how do they get in contact with you? I mean, is it available on nisahelpline.com?
Available on our website. We can go to our Facebook event page, on Instagram. We're painting the town of social media with how to purchase the tickets. So if you guys just navigate to any one of those platforms, you'll be able to purchase your tickets very easily.
And is there any special guest you're having other than your presentations on your projects?
Yes, there will be special guests, which we will be announcing very shortly. So stay tuned to our social media accounts for the release. So very soon.
Very soon, inshallah. And any basic message you would like, both of you would like to leave with our viewers, you know, to leave them a parting message?
Sure. I think one thing that I was reminded of recently was that we need to get back to being a community that cares. And at Nisa Helpline, we've seen that throughout the years. We've seen it internally with our team members who are an extension of our Nisa Helpline family. We've seen it in our community, and we want to be able to continue to support the needs in our community for Muslim women. And we need your help to do that. So, you know, alongside our community, I think it's, you know, the opportunities and the support are endless. And we're definitely looking to, you know, what's coming up ahead that will be able to continue to provide that support and educational awareness to women in our community.
Sister Shaheen, Sister Athir, I want to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to highlight the tremendous and necessary work of Nisa Helpline. And I hope Allah blesses all of your efforts individually as well as an organization, and grant you tremendous success in all of your endeavors.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank
Assalamu
you,
alaikum.
Shaheen. Wa alaikum salam.
Alaikum assalam.
Peace out.
Not in my name, not in my faith, not in my